Hello, this is Don and welcome to Two Saws Tips channel. Today we're going to be talking about the motor oil viscosity controversy. If you'll notice, this is a 2024 Toyota Camry hybrid. It has an A25A-FXS engine. It calls for SAE 0W16 motor oil is what it calls for. However, I'm using 530, and you might be wondering, well, what the heck are you doing? It says it calls for 016, you're putting 530 in there. Why? Well, let me explain. Okay, so you might be saying, well, geez, you know, the Toyota engineers have determined that 016 is the best weight of oil to use for this particular engine, so why in the world would I deviate from that? After all, I can't be as smart as the engineers at Toyota, correct? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Let me just show you a couple pieces of evidence here. In the United States, I have copies from the owner's manual from Australia for this particular engine and for the United States. Okay? And in the United States, it simply says SAE 016 is the best choice for good fuel economy and good starting in cold weather. If SAE 0W16 is not available, SAE 0W20 may be used. However, it must be replaced with SAE 016 at the next oil change. They say it must. Very strong language here. Okay, so now this is the Australian manual. This is from the Australian owner's manual for the exact same car, for Toyota 2024 Toyota Camry hybrid with the same engine, the A25A-FXS engine, the same engine. Okay, what do they say? They say recommended SAE. SAE 016 is filled into your Toyota vehicle at manufacturing and the best choice for good fuel economy and good starting in cold weather. If you use SAE 1030 or a higher viscosity engine oil in extremely low temperatures, the engine may become difficult to start. So SAE 016, 020, 520, or 5W30 engine oil is recommended. Okay, so you might ask what gives. Well, the NHTSA has this thing called, which is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. They have a fuel economy standard called CAFE, which stands for Corporate Average Fuel Economy. And those standards, the car manufacturers have to meet these standards. And one of the ways that they meet the standards is by going with a thinner oil. Even though going with a thinner motor oil will only increase the fuel economy by a fraction of 1%, even so, it's still worth it to them. Why? Because they cut it as close as possible, because they want their cars to perform as best as possible, so they want as much power as possible that they can they want to make their car fleet as powerful as possible. They want to make it, but at the same time, meet those standards. So that would be the reason why they're going with a lower viscosity engine oil. Okay, so the question I have, when the engineers were working out what grade of oil, what viscosity grade of oil that they were going to recommend for this engine, was the question, what viscosity of oil will protect the engine the very best in various ambient temperature conditions? Was that the question that they needed to answer? Was that their assignment? Or rather, was it, what is the lowest viscosity oil that we can recommend or specify for the engine and still have it protect the engine adequately? And of course, they would be the ones that would define what is adequate. So that's the question. That's the whole thing here, is that is it that 016 is really the best in all conditions, even really hot weather for the engine? Or is it that they really wanted to push the fuel economy and they're willing to sacrifice a little bit of wear protection in order to get the slightly better efficiency. That's my question, and that's the reason why I've chosen. I'm not at all suggesting that anybody follow my advice and do what I do. You know, if the default thing or the easy thing to do is just follow whatever the manufacturer recommends for your engine. Whatever the OEM recommendation or specification is, just stick to that. However, again, I've decided that it's that I think I'm going to get a little bit better protection, especially in hot weather, going with a 5W30 rather than a 0W16. I still get over 50 miles per gallon with the vehicle. The vehicle is not using any oil between oil changes at all, and it's running like a top. And so for all those reasons, I've decided, and also my wear metals, I have done oil analysis, used oil analysis, and the wear metals are down to like, for each 1,000 miles, the wear metals are down to like 1 part per million, which is just phenomenal. So for all those reasons, I've decided I'm deviating slightly, going with a slightly higher viscosity oil that still meets all the other specifications, but just is a slightly higher viscosity than what they recommend. But again, that's the reason why. And I wanted to make this because I'm going to do an oil change video, and I wanted to make sure people are going to be wondering, well, geez, the manufacturer says 0W16, why are you using 530? So I wanted to make a separate video about this topic specifically and what kind of went into my thought process on that. And I also will include some links below this video that other people like the Motor Oil Geek and Engineering Explained channel have also discussed this at length and actually gone in deeper than I am. So I will go ahead and include those links below. And thank you so much for watching. And if you found this to be of value or interesting, please give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe if you find my content of value. Thank you very much.